Good morning, children. Once again, welcome to our English class. Children, we were reading Unit-5 Eureka, Section 2, The Time Machine, written by H.G. Wells. In our previous video, we read about the English author H.G. Wells, who, being prolific in many genres, wrote dozens of novels, short stories, and works of social commentary, history, satire, biography, and autobiography. Wells is best remembered for his science fiction novels and is often called the father of science fiction. Children, we read that the story, The Time Machine, opens on a dinner party at home of an eminent scientist, the time traveler, who is explaining to his assembled guest principles of science and math that supports the possibility of traveling across time, just as one would travel across space. His guests were upper class British men, a doctor, a psychologist, a journalist, etc. To demonstrate the validity of his ideas, the time traveler brings into the living room a small model of a machine. Alright, children, now let's come to page number 185 of your textbook and see what happens next. The time traveler looked at us and then at the device. Well, said the psychologist. This little affair, said the time traveler, resting his elbows upon the table and pressing his hands together above the apparatus, is only a model. It is my plan for a machine to travel through time. We looked at one another in astonishment. He went on, pointing with his finger. Here is one little white lever, and here is another. When I press this lever, the machine will glide into the future, and when I press the other, I will travel back into the past. The time traveler explains that one lever sends the machine into the future and the other one sends it into the past. He asked one of the guests to push the forward lever and the machine disappears in a small gust. Children, now come to page number 186. The medical man got up out of his chair and peered into the thing. It's beautifully made, he said. It took 2 years to make, retorted the time traveler. When all of us had crowded around to take a close look at the machine, he said, presently, I am going to press the lever and off the machine will go. It will vanish, pass into future time and disappear. Have a good look at the thing. Look at the table too and satisfy yourselves. There is no trickery. There was a minute's pause. The psychologist seemed about to speak to me, but changed his mind. Then the time traveler put forth his finger towards the lever. No, he said, lend me your hand. And turning to the psychologist, he took that individual's hand in his own and told him to put out his forefinger. So that it was the psychologist himself who sent forth the model time machine on its fantastic voyage. We all saw the lever turn. I am absolutely certain there was no trickery. There was a breath of wind, and the lamp flame jumped. One of the candles on the mantel was blown out, and the little machine suddenly swung round, became indistinct, was seen as a ghost for a second perhaps, as an eddy of faintly glittering brass and ivory, and it was gone, vanished. Save for the lamp, the table was bare. Every one was silent for a minute. The time traveler won everyone's trust by speaking to them confidently and making them sure that there was no trickery, no magic related to the time machine. He even asked one of the guests, that was the psychologist, to press the lever himself so that we can be sure that the other person has taken the model time machine to its fantastic voyage. Philby said, "Well, I'll be damned." The psychologist recovered from his stupor and suddenly looked under the table. At that, the time traveler laughed cheerfully. "Well, what do you think of my invention?" he said. Getting up, he went to the jar on the mantel and, with his back to us, began to fill his pipe. We stared at each other. "Look here," said the medical man. "Are you in earnest about this? Do you seriously believe that that machine has traveled into time?" "Certainly," said the time traveler. "What is more, I have a big machine nearly finished in there." He indicated the laboratory. "And when that is put together, I mean to have a journey on my own account." "You mean to say that that machine has traveled into the future?" said Philby. "Into the future or the past? I don't, for certain, know which." We sat and stared at the vacant table for a minute or so. Then the time traveler asked us what we thought of it all. There was complete silence everywhere. The psychologist could now come to terms, and he couldn't believe where the time machine vanished. So he quickly looked under the table, and by looking at him, the time traveler laughed cheerfully. The time traveler was proud of his invention and asked everyone that how they felt about the time machine. All stared at each other. The medical man asked him, "Are you serious? Did the time machine really travel into time?" "Yes," said the time traveler. "I am not sure whether the machine traveled to future or the past, but I certainly know that it did. And I have another big machine nearly finished which would definitely take me along with it to either the future or the past." All the guests stared at the vacant table which earlier had a little time machine. Then the time traveler asked them what we thought of it all. Are they still able to believe him or not? Alright, children, that's all for today. I would be meeting you again with the remaining portion of the story. So till then, take care of yourself. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.